Are your screams airy, whispery, or quiet? If you've ever felt like your screams were stuck below talking volume, I've helped thousands of students on their screaming journey, and I'm about to break down the exact steps to get your screams sounding powerful and cutting through the mix without trashing your voice. I'm going to show you the 4 levels that control your scream's volume, the biggest mistake that keeps people quiet, and a couple of drills you can start using today. Let's get into it. Level 1. First, let's talk about the foundation. My student Dave was a very quiet screamer who had been trying for years, but he wasn't able to go loud. He wondered if his voice just wasn't cut out for it. For him, this following concept is what allowed him to finally get the power he was looking for. Now, if your scream sounds breathy, airy, or quieter than your speaking voice, you're probably powering it with breath instead of voice. Now here's the deal. A scream can only be as loud as the sound powering it. So if you're breathy and whispering, you can only whisper so loud. And if you're using that as a bass, you'll never get that loud with it. But on the other hand, if you're using a full supported voice as your bass, now you're in business. So let's try this exercise. Try making a loud, hey, like you're calling a friend across the street. Now that's the energy you want underneath your scream. Not a whisper, not a falsetto, but a full supported voice. So don't use breath to power your scream, use voice. Now this is important, but after I fixed this, I was stuck at this next level for years. You see, I used to always have to turn my mic up when I performed, and this was especially bad when I would do guest vocals because my screams would be quieter than the other vocalists. So when they handed me the mic after their part, you pretty much just wouldn't be able to hear me because the sound guy adjusted the mix to the previous vocalist's volume. So let me explain. Not all screams are created equal. Fry screams and false chord screams have different volume ceilings. Fry screams, especially in the lower chest and upper chest voice, can sound gritty but won't get super loud compared to fry screams happening in your head voice, which will be a lot louder. But if you want to go even bigger than that, start blending in false chords or try a hybrid scream. False chord screams are naturally a bit easier to get louder and can fill a room easier. So as a demo, I'm going to do a couple of fry screams, then a false chord scream so you can hear the difference. Hey, bassy! Hey, bassy! Hey, bassy! Hey, bassy! The problem is that I was using a lower place chest fry, which is a very quiet scream compared to the false chords that the other vocalist was doing. So remember, different scream types have different volumes. And by the way, there's no one-size-fits-all approach for unlocking these screams, but if you want different approaches that work well for a lot of people, I'll leave a link down in the description that goes over them and shows you how to protect your voice in the process. But back to the video. This next level that controls your volume is something that a lot of my beginner students get stuck at, particularly students who try and sound too brutal too quickly. They'll use voice and use a loud scream, but still it doesn't come out loud. But the good news is that this problem and solution is way simpler than any of the other previous steps, but it's still easy to overlook in the moment. This next level is about tweaking your mouth shape. Vowels like ooh and are always going to be quieter than open vowels like ah. So as an exercise, try this. Scream ooh and ah and notice the difference in power. You see, it's not just about force, it's about resonance and shape. So use more open vowels to get a louder sound. So this next level might change the very nature of your sound, but if volume is your main concern and you're going for a different sound, this level might be your best friend. You see, if your scream is pitchless, then it's a lot easier to be quiet. But if you add a bit more melody or pitch from there, especially in head voice, then you'll notice a big jump in volume. So let's try this test. If you can scream, first try a monotone scream. Oh! Then add a little pitch. Oh! Almost like you're yelling a note. The difference is huge. Adding pitch beyond just having it as the base of your scream can make your scream louder. And once again, if you need help on specifically unlocking any of the above screams, don't forget to check out the free training in the description. Now the next question is, with all of these different levels to adjust and consider, how do you actually tell if you're louder? Record yourself and listen back. What feels loud in your head might not be as loud on playback. I'd recommend to record your normal talking voice to establish a baseline there, and then do your different screams and adjust these different levels that I was telling you about, and see visually what the waveforms are so you can compare what's louder. From there, adjust, tweak, and don't be afraid to experiment. Now you know how to increase your volume, you might run into other problems. Maybe it feels uncomfortable and scratchy. Maybe it sounds too whiny or constipated. That's normal that when you tend to fix one problem, it usually leads to or reveals other problems. So watch this video to troubleshoot other most common problems with your screams.